Hey guys, it's Eric Green. I had something come up, and it's come up a lot over 25 years of 20, almost 26 years of practice. Um, what do you do when the client isn't going to listen to you, right? And I suspect you're like me, right? We care about our clients for better or worse, and we want to help them. Sometimes it's to our own disadvantage. It's almost to our own. It's going to impact us negatively. And I know you've all had this. The client comes in at the last minute, and as much as as much as I tell you, we have a cutoff, we have a date, we have a this, we have a that. But you can help them, right? And you'll get it done, and you'll give up your weekend. I've had this over again almost 26 years. The criminal case, they get me stuff at the last minute, or the collection case, we have a deadline, and they don't get us the material till the. I just had this with a voluntary disclosure where we were given a deadline by the auditor. And yes, I could get some more time. We have dragged this down to the point where, for the first time ever, I've had the voluntary disclosure supervisor inform the auditor if we don't meet this deadline, they're throwing them out of the program. And by the way, just so you know what happens, if a taxpayer comes forward, does a voluntary disclosure, part of the terms, one of the things they agree to is to cooperate. And so if you don't cooperate, you're unwilling to sit and talk to the auditor. You're unwilling to provide information. You're unwilling to either pay the balance or work with them to get an installment agreement in place. They can throw you out of the program. And think about that. We have now disclosed everything to the voluntary disclosure folks, to this auditor, that the government needs to prosecute us. You would think that the taxpayer would be pretty motivated, right? Yeah, you know what? No problem, Eric. I'll get that to you. And foot dragging to the point where I actually had to threaten the client. So I want to just talk about this. Here is, and I'm going to give you the advice at the end, but I'm going to tell you, with this client, I had to threaten them. I basically, and this is someone I'm very close to. And again, big mistake taking friends as clients. I literally had to tell him, I'm firing you. And he responded, I don't understand. I said, I have to fire you because I can tell you right now, this is not going to end well. And when I mean not end well, they are going to throw you out of the program. Criminal investigation will then refer this because we've provided everything. Next thing we're going to hear from is an assistant U.S. attorney asking, do you want to plead or are they going to indict you? All right. And I don't want to be associated with that because this is going to go out into our circles, our friends, all of that. Ultimately, he came through and we wrapped it up. But it's a really bad place to be. I'm sure you've all had this. You often compromise. They give you a deadline to get them additional information, and the client has now gone AWOL, right? The client is foot dragging, or now they're hemming and hawing. They don't really want to get you this stuff. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Best-selling author. She's on all kinds of podcasts. Mel Robbins, you've probably seen her somewhere, has a new book out, and it's literally called The Let Them Be Theory. I started reading it, but I almost can tell you what it's going to say. And it's old advice. For our own mental health, for our own happiness and our own well-being, at some point, you got to just let the client be. They, in my opinion, they are an adult. They are making a decision. We can give them all the advice in the world. If they're not going to do this, like I actually told my friend when he called me, I said, I'm really angry with you. I'm pretty pissed. I used 4-letter words. And he's like, well, I said, you don't understand something. You're putting me in a terrible position. I am helping you as a friend. I'm not even charging him. I'm helping you as a friend. And you right now basically are backstabbing me. You are putting me in a position where I am damaging my own relationships with the people who I know that I'm dealing with at the government because you don't feel like listening to me. I'd rather just get out of this. If you want to literally jump out of the lifeboat into the soup, your choice. Now again, he apologized, came through, all's that well that ends well. But I got to tell you, I'm still pretty ticked off because it puts me in the position of having to be a jerk. And I'm sure you felt this too. All right. So if you want to go read Mel Robbins' book, I don't know her, I've never met her. Please feel free. You can find this, many other places. Here's the key to happiness, or maybe not the key to happiness, but one of the keys. My old law partner, Bob Percy, in fact, I quoted him, I think, in my $1 Million Practice book on this. He said, Eric, we didn't create this disaster. We're only here to help clean up the mess. I have been asked to help. If the client in the end does not want my help, you have to just let them be. Okay? If they're not going to respond, I would tell you, you have to respond forcefully, and I would do it, especially if you're going to do something like this. If I really fired them, I would do it in email, I would text them, and I would send a certified letter to the house. There should be no question that they knew I'm firing them and why I'm firing them. The same thing. If you have a collection client who won't get you stuff, if it's an audit and they won't deliver stuff, at some point you have to send them. If I don't have this within 48 hours, 72 hours, I'm firing you. I got to tell you, I know you got to pay $15. For the FedEx, it'll be the best $15 you ever spent. Because what you don't want to do is get dragged into this and have them start finger pointing. I would send them a letter saying, look, I told you about this on this date. We have a deadline. You have not responded. You have not gotten me what I need. At this point, unfortunately, I cannot help you. Okay? And I'll tell you this. As someone who's done this for 26 years, and I teach this, and I've written books about it, and I've got tax rep members who I'm helping train, one of the things I have to get across to them, we are being asked to help. Now, there's a lot of money to be made doing representation. I mean, Jeff and I have built a $4.5, $5 million firm, depending on the year. With this at its core, I mean, we do other things, but with this at its core, there's a lot of business, a lot of money to be made. But part of this is you can't let yourself be driven nuts. Same with the tax prep practice. If you listen to me and by April 1st, everything is not in the door, you're not doing the return. If you want, you'll put them on extension, but they have to understand they are going to take potentially estimated tax payment penalties. They might take failure to pay penalties because an extension is to file, not pay. Whatever. If it's an auditor, if you want, I've put a draft. I'm actually loading these draft letters. I just realized I didn't have them in the members area. I'm putting them in the members area. You send them a letter saying the auditor set a deadline. All right. It gave us 30 days. We are now 20 days in, and you have not given me anything. I've texted, I've called, I've whatever. I've emailed you. No response. I don't have it. If I don't have it in the next 48 hours, that's why I send it FedEx. If I don't have it, 48 hours, I'm unable to help you. I'm sorry. I'm going to withdraw. What will happen if you don't meet this deadline? They will probably deny the deductions. They will issue a notice of deficiency. You will then have to fire an attorney. You'll have to hire an attorney to go file in the United States tax court. You are going to have significant expenses. Okay? And there's nothing I can do for you. Why? I need to keep my own mental health, my own inner peace. I have to maintain my happiness. And it's a hard thing to do because, again, we care about the client. I do. I'm sure you do. All right? I'm not that heartless, even though I've kind of become, I don't want to say, I think the word would be numb. I'm sure doctors and nurses get to this too. You see it so often, you kind of become, I don't want to say immune to it, but kind of numb to it where it is what it is. All right? I used to, years ago, I would turn myself into a pretzel. There were times I would leave dinner, go out at night to meet the client to get that last piece of information, go home, get the 433 wrapped up, send it to them in the morning, and I actually had to drive stuff because you couldn't upload or anything back then. I would drive stuff to the IRS office to drop it there in time. Not anymore. I'm sorry. Eric is getting off. No. Remember, this is their problem. I get hired to help. If they don't want help, let them be. All right? And that's the lesson. And you got to come to terms with it. Okay, I'm going to highly recommend you really think about it. Members, go in, you can look at our letters, feel free to tweak them, do whatever you like, but it should give you a pretty good outline as to the way we handle this and how I recommend you handle this. If it's a bookkeeping client, if it's a tax prep client, bankruptcy client, whatever, this advice I think holds true across the board. If the client in the end is not going to listen to you, you're really honestly, you're better off professionally, malpractice wise, and for your own mental, space, you get out. You just get out. All right. Now, again, why did I do this for 25 years? Make myself nuts? Well, honestly, I think it's because one, I needed the money, or at least I thought I needed the money. And two, um, again, I am the savior. I'm coming in. I'm going to pull them out of the fire of enforcement. I'm going to make sure that deadline gets met. I'm going to resolve this. I'm going to be the hero. Here's what you're going to find. The client clearly doesn't care enough. And if things go wrong, they're going to blame you. And if you do pull everything out, they're not going to care. I had a client that I managed to knock $175,000 off their liability. Basically, the returns were false. Not only did we keep it civil, I knocked $175,000 off of their assessment, which, by the way, only brought them from 600 to like 420, and got penalties abated on part of it. I negotiated to at least remove penalties on this stuff because I thought there was a good argument. And I think the government got so sick of me, they just agreed. And in the end, the client had us at a balance with us, and he literally sent me an email. This I'm not going to, bleep or whatever. Sent me an email basically like, I got your bill, fuck you. That's the thanks. Okay. There was an old comic strip years ago. Bob Percy had told me about this, with the 3 boxes. And it was in one of the legal publications, maybe the National Jurist or something. And the first box was, you're great. This was fantastic. Thank you for helping me. Send me your final bill. Then it showed a month and a half later, and they're like, yeah, I'll take care of the bill at some point. And then the third box, they finally get a bill, and it's 90 days later. They said, yeah, but what did you really do? In other words, they don't care. That sort of carelessness often that led to their having this issue, that's a personality trait. Okay? It's the same way, and I'm, by the way, I don't know, I wouldn't profess to be an expert in relationships, but you often hear with a relationship, if somebody's damaged, you can't fix them, you can't save them. This is just what and if they want to work that out, they really got to go to a psychotherapist, all right? We're not a psychotherapist. I can't fix them. They come to me with these problems. So more and more when I deal with clients now, I'm laying down the law from the beginning. Here is the date. If I don't have it by then, we're not doing anything. They will levy you. I read them the Riot Act, and we have that date. And if they miss it, I will send them the email saying, we don't have anything. We're not going to be able to get this done in time. I wish you the best of luck. I'm going to return whatever the balance of your retainer is. Now, usually that will get the, no, don't fire me. I'll have it to you. And my response is, let's say it's Wednesday, I need this by Friday. Because now I'm going to ruin my weekend. And by the way, I'm charging extra for it. All right, if I'm billing hourly. Is what it is. It's their choice. If clients come in after April, no, I don't want to be an extension. Well, look, I did your return last year for $450. I am booked. I means I have to give up my night or my weekend. It's now $750, or I can put you on extension. Your choice. Why? Because you got the stuff in February and you foot dragged yourself to April. Now, there are those of you saying, wait, Eric, I got clients that get K1s. That's a different relationship, and I hope you priced it accordingly, that you're going to be at the last minute or working over the summer on it. But you need to make sure you draw these lines. And it's not just me talking about, well, this is good practice, whatever. This is for your own mental space. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I feel bombarded between politics, government shutdown, tariffs, all of just everything. All of the stuff, social media and the bombardment and people, everyone's a critic. You've got to start protecting your own mental space, and this is part of it. So if you have the client and the client's not listening to you, get rid of them. All right, draw the line and get rid of them. There's an old saying, by the way, with lawyers at least, you'll make more money off the clients you don't take. And that didn't make sense to me in law school. I'm like, I don't understand. I get it now. When a client comes to me and they're clearly a mess, sometimes I'll just pass, period. I'm sorry, we're too busy. Here are some other people, usually people I don't like. Here are some other people, you may want to give them a call. Or I'll tell them right out of the gate, we're very busy. I could probably get this done for 5,000, let's call it, but I need the stuff by this date. If it goes beyond that, one, I may have to withdraw. I'm just telling you now up front, it's going to be in our letter, just because I won't be able to get to it. I know my calendar. Or I'm going to have to work weekends. And honestly, in my letter, I bill time and a half. All right, you want to pay $800 an hour? Sure, I'll take $800 an hour, and while I'm watching football, work on your 433. But that's not really that. Frankly, I don't do that because I'll just refuse. I'd rather get rid of them. So let them be. All right. In the great words of Mel Robbins and many other people, the let them be theory is really, really important. Whether you go read her book or not, that's up to you. But I will tell you now, that is a great way to be. And I think you will feel better. You'll have a weight lifted when you just accept that and implement that as part of your practice. All right. So everyone, keep working, keep making money, but make sure you draw lines, all right, and take care of yourself, all right? And when in doubt, let them be. This is what they chose. Take it easy.